I remember my first job out of college, working under a boss I now realize had classic narcissistic traits. Let's call him Alex. Alex had this incredible charm. In my first few weeks, I was completely taken in. He'd praise my work in front of everyone, making me feel like a superstar. He'd assign me special projects, framing them as huge opportunities only I could handle. Eager to impress, I'd say yes instantly, my chest swelling with pride. I'd work late, come in on weekends, and pour everything I had into these tasks. The moment I delivered, the praise would rain down, and I felt on top of the world. It was intoxicating. But then, the pattern started to shift. The special projects became more frequent, the deadlines tighter. My regular duties started piling up, but Alex would dismiss my concerns. "You're a rock star," he'd say with a dazzling smile. "You can handle it." The problem was, if anything went slightly wrong, that smile would vanish. Suddenly, it was my fault. I wasn't dedicated enough, not organized enough. The public praise turned into subtle public criticism. He'd say things in meetings like, "Well, if we had just managed our time better on this, .. double quotes and glance in my direction. My confidence started to crumble. I was constantly on edge, desperate to win back his approval. One afternoon, he dropped a massive project on my desk at 4:45 p.m., telling me he needed the entire proposal drafted by the next morning. It was an impossible ask. Inside, my stomach was in knots, my mind screaming, "No way." But the old habit kicked in. I was about to say, "Of course, Alex, I'll get it done," when something snapped. I was exhausted, burned out, and my personal life was suffering. I looked at him, took a deep breath, and heard myself say something completely new. "Okay, let me review the materials, and I'll get back to you in an hour with a realistic timeline." Alex was visibly taken aback. He wasn't used to anything but immediate agreement. He just nodded, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes, and walked away. In that hour, I didn't just look at the project. I looked at my entire workload. I broke down the new request into smaller tasks and estimated the actual time needed. It wasn't an overnight job. It was a 3-day job, minimum. My heart pounded as I walked back to his office. I was terrified. I expected him to fly into a rage. I went in and calmly laid out my plan. I said, "I've reviewed everything. To do this properly and not sacrifice the quality on my other deadlines, I can deliver a complete draft by Thursday afternoon. I can give you a preliminary outline by tomorrow morning, but the full proposal requires more time." I braced for impact, but the explosion never came. He just looked at me, then at my notes, and said, "Fine. Thursday, it is. Make sure the outline is on my desk by 9. It was a turning point. I had presented a logical plan, not an emotional refusal. I wasn't saying no. I was redefining the yes. From that day on, my new rule became pause before you promise. Whenever Alex came to me with an urgent high-pressure request ID, use a simple phrase. Let me check my current workload and I'll get back to you. This small delay was my superpower. It gave me a moment to breathe, to think rationally instead of reacting emotionally. It allowed me to assess the request against my actual capacity, not my desire for his approval. It gave me the space to formulate a response that was professional and based on facts, not fear. The dynamic between us shifted completely. He started treating me less like an extension of his will and more like a professional colleague. The unreasonable demands didn't stop entirely, but my response to them changed everything. By creating that space, that small delay, I took back control over my time and my sanity. It wasn't about being difficult or uncooperative. It was about establishing boundaries and replacing a desperate need for validation with respect. That simple habit of pausing before agreeing didn't just help me survive that job. It taught me a lesson I've carried with me ever since. It taught me that my value isn't measured by how quickly I say yes, but by the quality and integrity of the work I ultimately deliver.